Hello and welcome. My name is Father William Maestri, and this is Overfed and Undernourished. We live in a digital and technological age, which has greatly improved the quality of our life in terms of productivity, information, the ability to make social contacts, information, and it has not come without also having an impact on the general way in which we live. In this particular video, we want to examine the impact of technology and the digital age and its effects upon the brain, because the brain really influences our entire body and the way in which we feel and act and process. And what we want to do is to look at a specific group and how the digital age has affected them, specifically the millennials. And we want to look at the millennials in light of also the baby boomers, who really are the parents of the millennials, because there has been a significant change in the physiology of the brain, in its structure, and its ability to process. It has affected actually the physical processes of the brain itself. At present, and these are just some statistics which no doubt will change with every day, but there are more than 83,100,000 millennials, that is, between the ages of 18 and 34 in the United States. That's a significant population mass, and also millennials have been at the digital and technological age longer than most, if not all, age groups. On average, millennials spend, again, in the aggregate, 18 hours a day as a group on various forms of technology and digital encounters. 90% of young adults use social media. That is up 12% since 2005. The very important area that we want to look at is the influence of the digital and technology on the development and the process of the brain. The brain develops through usage, different parts for different functions. For example, we use different parts of the brain when we are doing such things as web browsing and texting, as different than reading and speaking. And the significant parts of the brain, the lobes, that we wish to look at are four. The first is the prefrontal cortex, which is the frontal lobe. It's in the front part of the brain, right here, and the prefrontal is that area of matter, tissue, that is in the front of the frontal lobe. And the prefrontal cortex and the frontal lobe is responsible for such things as the development of our personality, our ability for cognition, the development of various types of social behavior that we exhibit and engage in. And it's important also that the excessive use of digital devices, it brings about a certain degree of difficulty in processing information that we receive. We certainly process it in a different way the more and more we use digital devices. The second lobe that is affected by the digital age is the cerebellum. Cerebellum comes from a Latin word which means little brain. We receive information from sensory systems. It coordinates voluntary movements such as posture, balance, coordination, speech, and motor skills. The cerebellum is located near the back of the skull, right below the temporal lobes, which are on the side, one on each side, and it's right below the occipital lobe. The importance of the cerebellum is that 50% of all of our neutrons are indeed stored in the cerebellum, which is a very important function of the brain. The third lobe is the parietal lobe. It is involved in interpretation of language and words. It is at the center of the brain. It's between both sides of the temporal lobes, right in the center there. It is in front of the occipital bone, the occipital lobe, which is in the back of the head, the back of the skull, and it is above the temporal area, or the temporal lobes. The temporal lobes are involved, they're right on the side here, right where our ears are, a little bit above. They're involved in hearing, memory, and the excessive use of technology affects these lobes, these centers of learning and interaction and of processing. The excessive use of technology that we may have today is certainly a shrinking of the outer cortex of the brain, that covering that goes across the brain proper itself. The frontal lobe can atrophy from lack of proper use. Again, it grows stronger, it's more developed, the more and more it's used. The frontal lobe can atrophy without proper use, exercise, if you will. Without proper using of the various lobes of the brain, we have difficulty in processing information. Our social interactions may indeed be somewhat hazy, or we're not quite sure, or we don't have that kind of skill to interact in various contexts with various kinds of people in various kinds of circumstances. The memory can also be affected, especially short-term memory. Attention span, we have a tremendous increase in information, but we have a narrowing of attention. It's estimated that if something from a person who is excessively involved in the use of technology, if it doesn't grab our attention in the first 2 or 3 seconds, it tends to be discarded and we move on to something else. Also, it can inhibit our emotional responses, either in terms of excessive or deficient. We're not quite sure how to act emotionally because the emotions also require training and skill and practice. Our communication skills are also affected in terms of how we communicate. If we are used to texting, for example, we may use a kind of shorthand. The idea of sentences with structure, parts of speech, can easily be laid aside in almost a kind of code between those who are very familiar with texting. And also, school performance can tend to decline as one is more and more involved in various forms of digital and technological devices. The individual can also become socially withdrawn. That is, the various digital and technological devices can become a substitute for interaction with family, with friends, with strangers, with other people, meeting people in different social circumstances and how to act and how to respond. This withdrawal can make us sedentary, which can lead to obesity and even the development of diabetes. Excessive use of technology can also increase our stress and distress and also lead to depression and anxiety. And also, because of our sedentary encounter with various kinds of technologies, our motor skills, our skeletal and our muscular development can also become retarded or delayed. Our motor skills, our ability to perform just basic tasks can be impaired. And when we look at, and research has indicated, the difference between baby boomers and millennials, we see a real difference across the generations there. Baby boomers, they like repetition. They like what is familiar. They like the familiar information that is often taken as true. It's a fact because I've seen it enough. The millennials like engagement, and they like to be presented with a number of dynamic kinds of presentation through media and also through lighting. They're more likely to remember multiple forms of sensory bombardment rather than perhaps reading or hearing or seeing through one kind of visual encounter. Secondly, baby boomers have a hard time suppressing distractions, one thing at a time. I can't hear, everyone is talking, or I'm getting too much information. It's kind of information overload. They're much more comfortable with one delivery system. Millennials have an easier time with multifaceted forms of communication that can be going on at one particular time. And thirdly, baby boomers are open to more information and have longer attention spans when it comes to staying with something that is read or something that is heard or even a conversation. The millennials, they tend to be multi-sensory, and therefore they tend to be interactive. They like interactive sites where they are able to engage even physically with their hands or through various kinds of visuals that come before them. So what we see is, we see a real generational difference in the very structure of the brain, the way in which we process information and external stimuli, but it also seeps into our social behavior. It seeps into the way in which we develop motor skills, our muscular and skeletal development, and also the way in which we process information and interact in the social realm with others, family, again, friends, or also strangers and the various kinds of situations that we encounter. So we're not suggesting for a moment that we get rid of all of our digital devices, that we turn off all the computers and get rid of all the smartphones and all of that sort of stuff. Again, that's unrealistic, impractical, and would generally lessen the quality of life that we have become very familiar with and to a large extent enjoy. But there are some suggestions that we can do to stimulate those lobes of the brain that affect so much of our body and everyday presence in the world. Number one is to read. Pick up a book, not read off of a device, but pick up a book, even smell it. Open the pages and hear that crack, the turn of the page. If you, like me, you may need a pen or a highlighter. You love to outline or write things in the margin. That is a tremendous form of developing other parts of our brain that are not readily available through digital devices. Secondly, take time to write letters. Get a piece of paper, a pen, a pencil. If you're old like me, you might even look for a plume. And get your ink well and start writing. There's something wonderful about the dexterity of writing, of putting your thoughts together and putting it down on paper, of mailing it, sending it off, waiting for a response. All of that feeds the brain as well. Thirdly is a reasonable amount of exercise. A walk, ride a bike, throw a ball. Anything that gets our body moving also filters up to activating and engaging our brain. And fourthly, face-to-face interactions with family and friends, with other people, new experiences. We get out of the cocoon of our digital world into a more social and natural world. That again stimulates and increases the tremendous, tremendous power of this gift of our brain, which filters down again to the entirety of our physical body and also our psyche and our emotions. And of course, you have no doubt many, many other ways for achieving the balanced life. And isn't that really a good goal? To live balanced so that we are not overfed and undernourished.